I can't imagine riding a fucking bull. That was one times on Fear Factor where I told the producers, don't do it. Don't do it. I got there and they had one of the girls was like 98 pounds, this tiny little lady. And they had her riding this bull. I go, dude, don't do this to these people. And the stuntmen are some of the hardest dudes you will ever meet. Those dudes are not worried about broken bones. They break them all the time. They're not worried about shit. So they're not worried about themselves getting injured. They take precautions. You know, they're professional, but they're definitely not worried about these fuckers getting injured either.
Yeah.
They don't want them to get injured, but they'll put them in danger.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are fucking bulls. And the stunt guy, he was hilarious. He always had a dip in his mouth, and he was on set so often that he stopped spitting his dip because he couldn't like carry around a cup, so he just started swallowing it.
Yeah.
So he swallows his dip. What kind of a man is just there swallowing dip for decades?
There's
that
a lot
kind
of
guy.
them.
That kind of dude.
Yeah.
And so he was like, don't worry, boo, they're stunt bulls. I go, they're stunt bulls. I go, does that bull know he's a stunt bull? I bet he thinks he's a fucking bull. I bet he has no idea what a stunt bull is.
Yeah.
And the stunt bull is like a less aggressive.
For sure. Yeah.
That thing was aggressive as fuck.
I call like the one I have, he would be like my bucket list bull. Because like if somebody just wanted to get on a bull for the hell of it, like I would put him on this one black bull. We call him Trunk. He just jumps and kicks around there, and he's kind of predictable, and he's not mean at the end of it. And then we've got some other bulls that will get it on in the gate and then be mean and might try to kill you. But I imagine I vaguely remember the show, and what I remember about it, it would be like something probably a notch or two above Trunk, like my bucket list type bull ride. Like if you were to get on a bull, I would put you on Trunk.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I'm so not interested in that.
Right.
They
Which
don't
I can
want me
respect.
on there. I don't want to be on there. We got a relationship that way. We got a good agreement.
And normally I try to talk people out of it.
Good.
Like I got my whole program revolves around like interns coming in. Like my Netflix show was those like my interns learning how to rodeo, and and so I've got guys coming in that want to ride bulls, want to ride broncs, and I'll tell them like all the things. Like, listen, number one, you could die, or worse, you could die from the neck down and not the neck up.
Right.
And I'll just be real with them. I'll have 3 or 4 of those conversations, and if they still want to do it, well, then I'll teach them. Because there are some precautions you can take to minimize risk, but there's always risk.
Yeah, you might get kicked.
Yep, stepped on.
You might get stomped. You get stomped by a bull. Like, good Lord. Have you been stomped?
Oh yeah.
What does that feel like?
I broke a lot of bones. Like this, I broke my sternum. Like getting kicked. Stepped on in the chest. Oh. That one's pretty bad. But a lot of the worst ones would be like concussions. Those are the ones that'll stick with you. Those bones will heal, but the concussions will kind of, that CTE, that's something that's not measured in rodeo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You get some guys that all of a sudden start getting knocked out. They can think about getting jerked down and it might knock them out.
Yeah, that gets sketchy, right?
Yeah.
When their chin goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like fighters. You get knocked out too many times, then you get knocked out really easily. It's
right.
very spooky to see. When I see it in fighters, it makes me very concerned. Like sometimes you got a guy who's just maybe had just too many fights, and they used to be real durable, and then you see him get dinged once, and you see like instantly the legs go, and you're like, oh my God, he barely got touched.
Yep.
And he got rocked.
Yeah, and I'm sure with fighters too, there's just this, once that sport grabs a hold of your soul, it's so hard to let it go.
And it's the most exciting moments of your life is winning and competing. And that high is so high that regular life seems like a dull gray.
Yes.
And I think it's very hard for them. And it's also hard for them because their identity gets wrapped up in being a fighter. A lot of my friends that have retired, they really struggle like trying to figure out who they are afterwards. And then they entertain one more fight, and it's like, but they don't really want to fight. They just want something that makes them excited again.
Yes, sir. And there's kind of I think the winning and going down the road is part of it, and then you have those certain individuals that, and I mean, a lot of them in that world. I feel like Cowboy is definitely one of them, Cerrone, but like in rodeo, when there's somebody that is in love with the actual fight.
Yeah.
You know, like I think a lot of people, and these guys get weeded out. They don't have that long of a career in rodeo. I'm sure fighting's the same. That like they like to have fought. They like to have ridden bulls. Mm-hmm. But then you get those guys who like cameras are off, nobody's there, and they don't like they want to get on a bronc. Like they love the thrill of that fight. Nod your head, the gate opens, and it's you, and it's so pure. It's so pure. And I'm sure like a fighter that is just they're just hungry for it.
Yeah.
The actual between the bells.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's scary. Maybe all of them that on your level, they're all like that. I think they would have to be, I guess, to a degree.
Once they get to the highest level, I mean, that is who they are. You know, like with Donald, I mean, he's a pure fighter. But Donald is also he has a lot of interests. I'm not worried about Donald transitioning because I think he has a legit possibility to be a movie star. I think he could do it. If any of those guys could do it, I mean, movies are always looking for like a real hard-looking cowboy motherfucker, and Donald's that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's perfect for movies. I could see him, like Randy Couture's turned it into a career in films, you know, with the Expendables movies and all kinds of other shit. I could see Donald doing that easy, 100%.
Yeah, Chuck did it a little. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're working on a comedy. I don't know if you saw his short that he did at his ranch the other day on Halloween. He put out like a 10-minute, like a little mini movie.
Donald did?
Yeah, it's really cool. It was very well put together, and we're working on. He and I are doing like a comedy where.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got a guy working for me that's writing it right now.
Beautiful.
So it'll be fun.
I love Donald. He's a wild boy.
Yeah, he wants you to come out to his kids camp.
What is that? What is his kids camp?
It's in the summer in June. He just has kids come out and they just learn to be like miniature cowboy Cerrones. Like we shoot bows, guns. They roll every day, and there's sessions, campfire sessions at night.
That's
like
awesome.
50, 60 kids. That's probably the thing he's most passionate about now that he's done fighting.
That's beautiful.
He talks about it all the time.
He's got a good heart.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah.
He's a good man.
But
he told a story on this podcast about getting trapped in a cave while cave diving with this dude, and the dude panicked, and the cave got filled up with mud. You couldn't see anything. Even though he was right there and I knew he survived, like it was one of the most fucking terrifying stories I've ever heard in my life because he was running out of air and he couldn't figure out how to get out of the cave because it was all filled with silt. So he's like searching around for the opening to try to figure out how to get out.
Yeah, that's an intense story.
Fuck. Thinking about his family, thinking about his kids and his wife, and he'll never see them again. He's going to die in this cave. Like, fuck.
But he's got that never quit attitude.
Yeah. And also, like, don't go cave diving with people who panic.
Yeah.
You know, just people who panic are dangerous.
Don't do anything with people that panic.
Don't do anything. Like, you have to experience panic many times in your life and figure out how to manage that before you start fucking around in caves.
Yeah.
That should not be the first time you really panic.
I'm nervous if a situation went down that I'm not saying I'd be something badass. I'm just saying, like, I might be too desensitized having been around rodeo. Like, an emergency situation would be like, we'd be 8, 9, 10 seconds into it before I'm like, oh, man, we need to do something.
Right.
Just because, like, seeing guys get thrashed in the arena and like, having to help them, you know, like situations like that.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm sure fighters are the same way. But
they definitely get desensitized to people getting hurt.